Hi, friends and neighbors. This is a learning video that deals with indirect speech, otherwise also known as reported speech. You all know this phenomenon and you don't need to worry about it, but this video tries to explain it to you step by step. This video is completely in English, well, almost completely in English, but there's also in the same place the same explanation completely in German. So you can watch and listen to this in English, or you can listen to it in German, or you can listen to it in both. The main thing is you can watch it and listen to it as many times as you like, so you can make sure that you've really understood it. Well, what's indirect speech? As I said, we all know it. Imagine you're sitting at the dinner table with all your family, and suddenly your gran says to you, I feel sick. And your mom asks you, what did Gran say? And because she didn't understand it, because Gran didn't say it very loud, and then you have to report what Gran said in indirect speech. So you would say, she said she felt sick. Aha, you didn't report it exactly the way that Gran said it. Gran said, I feel sick. And you said, Gran said she felt sick. So you can see that there's a change already. And the changes that are necessary to make something from direct speech into indirect speech are what this video is all about. So let's start with a good example. Imagine the British Prime Minister gives a speech about the coronavirus. In this speech, he says the following things. Number one, the coronavirus is very dangerous. Number two, many people in our country have got this virus. Number three, doctors are helping them. Number four, scientists will find new medicines. Number five, then they can help the sick people. Number six, I have given the scientists lots of money. Number seven, the virus came to Britain in January. Number eight, it had started in China 2 months before. So this is what the Prime Minister actually says in his speech. Now, whenever a Prime Minister gives a speech like that, there are lots and lots of reporters who have to report what the Prime Minister says to the people who watch the television news or who read newspapers or who listen to the radio news. And they do that later in the day or maybe even the next day. And so they have to change things. And this is what their sentences look like. Number one, the PM said that the coronavirus was very dangerous. PM stands for Prime Minister. Number two, the PM said that many people in their country had got this virus. Number three, the PM said that doctors were helping them. Number four, the PM said that scientists would find new medicines. Number five, the PM said that then they could help the sick people. Number six, the PM said that he had given the scientists lots of money. Number seven, the PM said that the virus had come to Britain in January. And number eight, the PM said that it had started in China 2 months before. So you can already see that there are differences between the direct speech and these indirect speech sentences that the reporters wrote down for the newspapers. In the next picture, you can see these differences highlighted. So don't worry so much about the green highlights. We will talk about them at the end. Let's first of all look at the red ones, and then you can see that these all are concerned with the tenses that are used in the sentences. So there are changes in the tenses that are necessary if you report what somebody else has said. Important is this. So you need to make these changes when you report later what somebody said, when you introduce these sentences with a verb in the simple past, which is the normal thing. So we'll go through the different tense changes one by one, so you get a good chance to understand what's happening. Let's start with the first sentence. The coronavirus is very dangerous. That's what the Prime Minister actually says. And then the reporter writes down, the PM said that the coronavirus was very dangerous. So what the Prime Minister says is in the simple present, is, and the tense change that you have to make here is from the simple present to the simple past. So the coronavirus is very dangerous becomes the PM said that the coronavirus was very dangerous. So simple present in indirect speech becomes simple past. Another example for that, the Prime Minister says, many people in our country have got this virus. And the reporter writes in the newspaper or for the television news, the PM said that many people in their country had got this virus. So again, simple present in direct speech, simple present, becomes simple past in indirect speech. It's not very difficult. There's another tense that you can get in the present. That's not the simple present, but that's the present progressive. Doctors are helping them. Present progressive always has two parts. One part is a form of be in the simple present, in this case are. The other one is the present participle. That's the ing form of the verb. So doctors are helping them, and you just change the present progressive in indirect speech to the past progressive. So from doctors are helping becomes the PM said that doctors were helping them. Really all you're doing is changing the simple present form of be into the simple past form of be, because the participle never changes. That's the thing about participles. They don't change. Let's move on to another tense, and that's the will future tense, talking about the future. Scientists will find new medicines, is what the Prime Minister says, and the reporter writes, the PM said that scientists would find new medicines. So will, in direct speech, always turns into would in indirect speech. Also very easy. Another very easy rule, if you have the word can in direct speech, then that always becomes could in indirect speech. So the Prime Minister says, then they can help the sick people, and the reporter writes, the PM said that then they could help the sick people. So can becomes could. Now let's look at the past tenses that we already know some past tenses in English. Let's look at the present perfect first. That's the past. That's the tense that has two parts. So I have given the scientists lots of money. Here we have another participle. This is the past participle, and we have a simple present form of have. So it's either have, I have, he says here, given the scientist lots of money, or it can be has in other sentences. So I have given the scientist lots of money, present perfect, becomes in indirect speech, the PM said that he had given the scientist lots of money. So present perfect becomes past perfect in indirect speech, which really just means that you have to make you have to change the simple present form of the verb have into the simple past form of the verb have, because the participle never changes. So I have given becomes he had given. Remember, with the green ones we will talk about later. So present perfect becomes past perfect. Fairly straightforward. It goes on to be fairly straightforward. Simple past also becomes past perfect. So the Prime Minister says the virus came to Britain in January, and the reporter writes, the PM said that the virus had come to Britain in January. So here we have the simple past form of come, and here we have the past perfect form of come. So simple past becomes past perfect. Past perfect of come is had come. It's an irregular verb. So came in the simple past becomes had come in the past perfect. So, but what if what the Prime Minister says is already in the past perfect? Oh my God, what do we do then? Let's have a look. The Prime Minister says it had started in China 2 months before. So that's already in the past perfect. It had started. So where do we go from here? We can't really, there's no other tense to go back to. Well, we don't do anything. We just keep it. The past perfect in direct speech becomes past perfect again in indirect speech. We can't change it anymore. So it had started in China 2 months before. This is what the Prime Minister says. And the reporter writes, the PM said that it had started in China 2 months before. So here we have no changes whatsoever. Past perfect remains past perfect. Finally, the green bits. Obviously, if you report what somebody else has said, then there are some logical changes. For example, in this sentence, the Prime Minister says, I have given the scientists lots of money. Well, you are not the Prime Minister. So if you report it, you can't say, I have given blah, 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 the scientists lots of money. You have to change that because you're now talking about somebody else. The I here becomes he. The PM said that he had given the scientists lots of money. Obviously, the tense changes as well. But at the moment, what we're interested in is this. This is simply logic. You don't have to learn any rules for this. This is simply, obviously, you have to change that because he's talking about himself and you're talking about him, and you have to use a different personal pronoun here. Same goes for this sentence. Many people in our country have got this virus. Now, it's the Prime Minister talking about Great Britain. Imagine, though, this is an American reporter writing it down. The American reporter can't write our country because it's not her or his country, it's somebody else's country. So again, there has to be a change in the sentence here that is simply logical. The PM said that many people in their country had got this virus. So just remember to think about these things when you write down the sentence, when you report what somebody else has written in indirect speech. Don't make these mistakes. Make sure that you make these changes wherever it is logically necessary. So this was the video all in English. Congratulations for sticking it through right to the end. You can watch this and listen to it as often as you want. There's also no shame in going to the German language video and to make sure you've understood everything. Hopefully, this has helped you to understand this chapter of grammar. If you still have questions, you can always contact your teacher, but you should know that on pages 168 and 169 of your English books, you also have a very good explanation of indirect speech. So you can always go back to that. So this was it for today. Over and out.